way any of the directions from any of the stakeholders. But I might be varying from that a little bit tonight, because I do want to ask y'all to use the tendrils of this group to reach out into the environmental community based on some things I've heard from committee members or other county administration. And it's about the reception that I think a lot of the environmental speakers, and mostly, and I'll say prior to this last meeting, because the last meeting was great, and even the speakers I think were really good and on point, the public forum speakers. But prior to that, and I was just concerned, that's why I called Mary and asked for a few minutes. I think that the repetitive, and you can't control who comes to public forum, but I think we certainly can work to educate those presenters. They are doing the environmental issue, I think, a disservice by some of the presentations either being rambling, same speakers coming up every meeting with no clear message, or messages that are maybe negative based rather than positive based or solution oriented. And what I hear back as a staff person at the county is, that person that they're falling on deaf ears. A lot of those public forum presentations are falling on deaf ears. And I think it's important that they not fall on deaf ears, that they fall on, that they're presented in a manner that are articulate and clear and concise, well formed within the 3 minutes, and that are effective and reach the committee in an effective manner. And Chris, I know you understand what a lot of them are trying to say, even if they don't say it very well. But some of the other members, it's not falling well to, and particularly to, I'll say, county administration, it always doesn't fall well. So I don't know what can be done. I'm just kind of throwing that out as my observation of an issue that I'd really like to see the environmental community at large move beyond, particularly for these presentations. And it's not just environmental, it happens at the public forum, at the regular county commission meetings also, but this one's a little closer and more dear to me.
Yeah, I attended a meeting last week in Alabama, and they had some really good information in regards to public speaking, and essentially a template of how you should do it, and then I think they gave like a 2-minute comment period, but whatever in between. And I certainly have no issue passing that out to like people that come to this meeting or whoever is in the environmental community. But I'm not really sure how I can do that because, I can just, I don't know. I'm not in charge of anything or anybody is what I'm getting at, I guess. I can certainly, like I said, convey that information because it was really beneficial, and it was, it told you step by step how to do it, how to sync what you're going to say, how to answer the question that is asked, and things of that nature.
Well, I think, a document like that would be very useful. And I think one of the issues that we have is that people get up and talk and say they're talking for our group, and they have not been asked to talk on our behalf. So that's an issue. At the same time, there's the freedom of speech where anyone can get up and speak and say whatever's in their heart. It may not be in the right methodology or whatever that the advisory board would like to hear, but I think if we were to exclude that, we would really be losing sort of the heart of the community advocacy.
And that's the crux of the situation, because I firmly believe and support that people speak from their heart, and some are more articulate than others, some are more educated than others, some are more practiced than others. And the listener has to learn to filter through that to get to the message. But a lot of our listeners are not trained to do that, or not receptive. And I think that for this purpose, it's important to understand that as the communicator, to understand that, of how to get through to your listeners. And Mary, perhaps I could take that and put it on the county website as guidance for public forum speakers, or just, considerations for public forum speakers.
And to that end, I'd like to bring up a couple things. I think that Escambia County's chambers and their audio is not well suited for the audience. If you go to San Rosa County and see what their chambers are like, everybody can hear clearly. And I almost take offense in the sense that the environmental community has not yet had a chance to present their speakers. So the people that county administration might be tired of hearing, my goodness, they would be the citizens who have probably the most heartfelt information to pass on. And no, they're not all seasoned political types like the county administrator is. These are people that have actually built up their nerve to go up to a podium, say what they want to say in a very short period of time, and are not comfortable always in that position. So I would like to ask that Escambia County put a button on the very front page of your website that connects you to the Restore Committee, so you don't have to go looking for wherever everything is, including all the minutes. And there should be some very clear guidelines to how to be effective, maybe what Mary picked up. And then maybe the county administrator, who was lucky enough to have 2 positions that he got to fill, could maybe remind everybody that the people up there are citizens and they're hearing from citizens. And if they want input, not everybody's going to be comfortable standing in front of the podium, speaking from their heart to people who are much more interested in tourism or much more interested in infrastructure.
There's that, and that I totally support what you're saying, but there's also something too that I think we need to recognize. It's an opportunity, and that is that a lot of people that are passionate are not necessarily effective at persuading others. And the art of persuasion is actually being able to stand in the shoes of someone that doesn't have your perspective,
Right.
that has maybe a whole different set of values, and speak to them about what's common between you. And so I think the community could benefit. I don't know how effective we could be right away, but maybe this group could sponsor someone that's good, at presenting this. And just have a little, it could be at this session, the art of persuasion, how to be effective in communicating your idea. And we could just invite the, people who want to learn to talk or write more effectively. And I think we can all benefit from it. We all struggle to communicate. And I have gone to some of the county meetings where someone has the right idea, but they are just presented in such a negative way. You can see everybody that's up there sliding under the table because they're just beating up on them. So you don't get anywhere.
And I agree with what Barbara said. I mean, some of the most heartfelt presentations from people that are truly personally invested to someone who is not necessarily personally vested and on high. It's very difficult. I mean, I botched my first presentation to the city council as a teenager once, and so I know. But, and it's intimidating. But I think, like you talked about the art of persuasion, it's important to try to understand that communication is two-way. You have to communicate in a way that they will hear what you're saying and almost speak in a language that they'll understand. And that's not, everybody's not gonna be able to do that, but I think perhaps if I could put some guidelines on there, like you're saying, I like that, they have a button to our website and so much work.
Santa Rosa County, look to your neighbor.
It would be, I love that idea, because every time people ask me, where's the advisory committee, you really have to sort, you don't necessarily, the search engine doesn't work real well when I put in the search word, so a button on the front page would be
But
good.
even with those extra helps, and those are great helps, there are going to be a lot of people who are not computer literate and may still want to speak, so and
Yeah, I
they
would-
should have a right to speak.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that. What I was thinking for that purpose is just like we have a stack of speaker forums, like I have a stack of this guidance too. So maybe while they're sitting there, they can sort of practice and run through it. Yeah, and, you know, I hate to kind of even bring this up, but I think it's so important that this communication be expressed well and received well. And so part of that's training the receivers also, you know.
That's right.
I don't know
I was gonna say that.
how successful I can be in training some of them. I think they're good individuals, and I think they are genuinely concerned about the community most, which is good. I mean, that's why they should have been appointed, is they could look beyond their subject area and listen to somebody and pull the merit out of what they say. But the computer button I can't promise, but I can certainly try to get our IT guys to do that. But I can promise I can put this forum online and also have hard copies available at the
And
meetings.
the audio is important because people cannot hear. And if you have somebody that's making the rounds and and slapping each other on the back, and they're having a conversation, it's impossible to hear what's being.
Yeah, and that's a brand new $500,000 system.
Oh, I'm so glad that we're spending that much money on those types of things.
I know.
So speaking of audio, are the videos online? Because I thought they were, and I looked today, and I just didn't see them. So where do I need to
Yeah,
look?
Susan
for
said it
those?
wasn't posted yet,
Yeah.
but the
Not the
others
one
are
from the last
posted,
meeting.
right?
No,
The other
But
videos?
the others are, yeah, but not,
When I went to the Restore
not Monday nights.
page, I just didn't see anything about video.
Look under
So-
documents,
Yeah, yeah.
under documents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I thought I
have
looked there, but
Yeah.
okay, I'll try again.
I was thinking it was under minutes. If you go to, there's agenda
Fine.
minutes, and then there's a watch or a video or something like that.
Yeah, because it has the agenda, the link to the video, and then
Kind of a weird
hard
place.
copy minutes.
Minutes, I mean, you would never think to go there. That's strange. I'll look and see that. But,
Again, look to your
um,
neighbors to the east. They've got it all figured out. You can,
I don't know.
Anyway, thank you.
All right.
That's I had a couple of comments maybe to make, just to follow up with what Keith said. First of all, I certainly have not been one of the ones complaining about the testimony. I think that, you know, when you're appointed to a committee like that, when you're elected as an elected official, and I'm not an elected official, but it's, you know, it's a little bit close to that, to almost like that. You know, our job is to listen to the people and not gripe about it, and listen totally unfettered. And every person who comes up, no matter how ridiculous they may behave, I look them in the eyes, I give them my undivided attention. I don't speak to any other committee members. I don't do anything else. I'm not on my phone. I'm not looking at anything. I actually write notes of what they say. It's true that some people communicate very effectively and their message really carries with me. There are other people who are horrible communicators. They may have a good message, but they don't communicate it well. There are other people who have a terribly negative, combative attitude, energy, and you just instantly don't want to hear anything they say. And I know the other committee members are the same way. I mean, I listen, but as soon as it's over, you just don't hear it anymore. So there's obviously a lot about presenting an effective message, but I would never, ever complain or in any way speak of trying to, limit people. And this isn't that
You
it's,
weren't one of them.
we certainly want to be sensitive to not feeling like anybody's being limited in any way. And the other thing I would follow up with that is to say that, part of the strength of the environmental community and any kind of activist community is in your numbers. You've got other people who will outspend you on things, and that's not what we do. We hopefully can out-communicate and bring more numbers of people. So I think the idea that, and I know I talk to friends of mine and encourage as many people as I can to go to the meetings and to speak. And I think part of our strength comes from the number of people that do get up and do speak and continue to say that message, because as we get toward the end of this process and start developing those goals and putting that vision down on paper and developing those criteria, I'm hoping to be able to look back at months of formal testimony and public comment and say, wow, the community really spoke, and they said, we've got to protect the environment, we've got to protect public health, we've got to do economic development that is sensitive to public health and the environment. And so far, I'm very encouraged by the message that I am seeing, because that's largely what people are speaking to. So I would never want to hold that back in any way. I'm hoping for more of it. And so what if the meeting runs past 6 o'clock? I know the county wants it to be done at 6, but we want maximum public input. The law, the Restore Act requires it, and it's the right thing to do. So I certainly...
And actually, we're probably going further the direction of public input, because it's been ruled now by, I think, the Alabama Supreme Court that, I don't know, it was ruling just came out last week that with the public input, it needs to be per agenda item rather than just a public forum at the end of the meeting, just like we do the county commission meeting.
Yeah.
And so probably in a few meetings, we're going to be changing the public forum input to a per agenda item opportunity rather than just at the end.
That's great.
That's great, yeah, because I mentioned that in the beginning of this process, and we had, that's specific to restore, that ruling was, or?
No,
Is
just
that a federal?
public input. I
Is that a
said
state ruling or
Alabama,
federal?
but it seemed more like it would belong to Sunshine, but I don't think it was the Florida Supreme Court. Our attorney was briefly talking about it the other day in one of our staff meetings.
I wouldn't see how in Alabama it would affect us, but
Right,
if it does
Say
move
all
toward that, that would be great.
27 of
because-
our advisory committees, we're going to have to start going to that format.
I think it'd be a lot
That's-
more interesting. It'd be so much more meaningful to everyone if we did the public comment like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, meetings will take longer, but that's the price of, having a
Right.
full discussion and democracy is it just takes, dictatorships are quick and easy for the dictator. But democracy takes time.
Just a couple of things on the public speaking part. You're only allowed 3 minutes, but the public speaking part of the meeting is how many minutes allotted?
I generally try to just gauge the agenda by how many speakers we've been having. When it started out, there was 4 to 6, and now I think we're having a little bit more. So generally, I've been allowed about 30 minutes. Like I say, if I'm pressed with the 6 o'clock deadline, then I'm thinking, okay, 5:30, we need to start public forum. If they can back off at 6 o'clock, then it won't matter how long, or where we schedule it. But right now, I've been allowed about 30 minutes.
Well, like this last time, I think there was only 2 houses. Public?
It was smaller than it
We're
had
Because-
going to have to move on because we've got a lot of work to do on the criteria at this point. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for listening.
Enjoy Superman.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks for all.